How we doing, everybody? Good to be here. Who's up?
Ryan, how wild has the last month been for you?
Yeah, it's been pretty eventful for sure. Yeah, it's been a really exciting month. It's been a tough month, but at the end of the day, it's obviously a privilege and honor to be here.
Can you take us through how this happened?
Ooh. I think the most important thing to note on that is, I met Mike about a year ago, started building a relationship, and, not with any necessarily end in mind, but just how the process goes in the football world. And I got to know him throughout, a couple different conversations and just kind of built that relationship over time and, kind of knew that potentially there'd be an opportunity like this down the line. Didn't necessarily think it'd happen the very first year, but that was really the first part, and just stayed in communication. And as Mike obviously had a great season as a coordinator for the Ravens, and knew that his name would come up in some search opportunities, and luckily for me, he ended right here in Seattle.
Where did you first meet Mike?
We met at the NFL Combine. Yeah.
This will be your first NFL coordinating job, obviously. What do you see as like the biggest differences or challenges compared to doing it at the college level?
Well, I think there's the obvious, the hashes, things like that are important, but I think the personnel-based scheme, there's some things that you have to be probably far more alert to as far as who's on the football field, whether it's base or nickel packages, the identification of personnel problems. You have those issues in college as well, but I think they can be a bit more prevalent in the NFL. And then also I think the limited possessions. I think that part of the game is a little bit different offensively.
What was the connection? Offensive-minded, defensive-minded guy. What was that connection with you and Mike when you guys talked?
Yeah, I think just respect. When you look at another guy and what they do on the football field, their creativity, and whether it's how you defend or how you attack, and when you look at that and you talk to a guy like Mike, and you see how just detailed he is, his ability to see the field, and just I think there's an instant respect there, and you just dive into it both ways on offensive and defensive side, and I think that's where it all begins.
Ryan, how hard was it for you to leave Kalen?
I thought about that process a lot of times, honestly. So I think just in the situation we were in made it tougher. Just that he was getting it started out at Alabama, and wanted to be there for him. But I knew this is what ultimately that I wanted to do if the right situation came up. The timing is so difficult to really describe. So I think that was the hardest part, was being in that position where the timing wasn't going to be perfect. And I think in this industry, the people that are in it, you just know that the timing is never going to be perfect. So best possible scenario, you'd love those timelines to marry up a little bit better. And obviously, that was the hardest part, honestly. We knew this day would come for sure, and I'm excited for Kalen. I know he's going to do a phenomenal job down in Alabama, and I know he's excited for me for this opportunity.
Ryan, you had made it pretty clear that you wanted the UW job and you wanted to stay here. Had you reconciled that you were going to be in Tuscaloosa at any point in this process, that it was set that you were going to be?
Yeah, no, that's where I was. You know what I mean? That was really the point, was to take the job down there and be the offensive coordinator, and nothing was set here. Mike was going through his process and trying to make the best decisions he could for the Seahawks, and so nothing was set. And so I had to keep moving forward with the job that I had taken, and that was the Alabama offensive coordinator job. So I just had to trust the process and know that it would end up the right way.
In the statement you put out, you mentioned how much Seattle means to you. So what does it mean that you are staying here after?
Man, this is like the unicorn event in coaching. So the fact that I got to stay right here and do it in a city, in a place that I already love, and I've had 2 years to, kind of let it marinate as far as, what John Snyder does here, and the ownership with the Seahawks, and just how classy of an organization this is and how driven they are to success. It makes it really special. When you think about making this step, you want to do it hopefully with a program organization that you believe in, and so to be able to do that was, unbelievable.
How much have you gotten to know Geno Smith, and what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, we're in a dead period right now, so really that's all it is just getting to know him as people. So no scheme or anything like that, but he's great. He's a competitor. He wants to be coached. He wants to be the best. It means a lot to him, and just hearing his story and his growth as a player and a person is inspiring, honestly. So I'm really fired up and looking forward to coaching him and Drew both. They're both wonderful guys, and they're competitors.
When you've watched Geno, whether it's just casually or now that you're in this position, what has stood out to you about the way he plays?
I think he's got good presence. I've been impressed with, his decision making. I thought, last year in 22, I think he led the league in completion percentage. I think that says a lot in this league when you talk about how hard those decisions are, number one, and then how tight the windows are. To be productive at that level and be the best in the league at it, I think says a lot. I think he pushed over 65% last year, so it just shows that he's got the ability to be accurate and, make good decisions, and that's what, ultimately you need a guy that can lead, be smart, tough, and dependable, and make good decisions. And I think Geno is more than capable of doing that.
Ryan, how important was it for you to bring Scotty Huff with you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that continuity and the translation up front is really important. I've always felt like Scott was a NFL caliber line coach. He's had opportunities to leave in the past, and so to be able to do it and have our system, I think it really helps, the installation process and the beginning points for the team, just to be able to help with the translation part, that you don't have to worry about how things are going to be taught or said and things like that. So I think it's a huge component.
The offenses that you coordinated at UW and at Fresno State were pretty pass-heavy. Sounds like Mike wants to lean more on the run game in Seattle. What's that shift going to be like for you?
Yeah, I think, over the course of my career, we've done both, certainly. I think, when you look at what we did, probably more specifically at UW over the last 2 seasons, we were, accentuating the positives. And there's 3 receivers that are probably going to get drafted this year. And so I think, moving the football through the air was a logical choice. And we are going to be a physical team in Seattle. And over the years, that's something that we've certainly done when the components all matched up. We ran the ball very effectively, and I look forward to it. I think that when you have an established run game, it makes calling those other plays and auxiliary plays off of it a lot easier, honestly. It's when you don't have the presence of a run game that things can get really tricky.
Mike called you an O-line guy at heart. What makes that so?
When we talked in the interview process, I think I probably expounded on that quite a bit, just that I have a passion for what happens up front and how it ties into the success of every part of the game. And I've always believed that. And I think that, when you have a talented and a unified group in that room, you got a chance every week.
The deep passing game, Ryan, how that you so successful at UW, how transferable is that to the NFL? It's not apples to apples, of course, with personnel, but just the approach.
Yeah, I think that, play action pass in the NFL is honestly where, we got a lot of our concepts. And so when we would base some of the things that we did, it was off of the NFL model. And so I think that some of those high read plays and flood concepts and things like that most people run certainly translate really well to the NFL.
Ryan, going along with that, finding those mismatches and those holes in college defenses is how much tougher is it going to be in the NFL to do that? Just using the same, you'll have to adjust a lot, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think it's always going to be. I think every step you take in advancement in this industry, you're going to find tougher mismatches and just the level of intelligence and the amount of thought put into each game plan is that's the part that is so intriguing about the NFL. The chess match that happens every week, being right on your math in the box, and all the things. The room for error is so much less.
When did the NFL become the goal for you?
I would say 3 years ago is the first time I really started looking at, do I want to pursue NFL or being a head coach? And not that it was going to happen at that moment, but that's really when I started to kind of dive more into NFL film, start talking to more people that were in the NFL, and started to research, what that would look like, both in schematic, transformation, and then just lifestyle and things like that. What would be the big differences for me? So I would say at least about 3 years ago.
Did you start to put more NFL concepts into your offense at that point?
Well, I think you're always looking for what can match your personnel, for sure. And so I would look NCAA and NFL, but I think we always look for, where the production's coming from and where the people are being the most unique and how they use their talent.
Coached almost every position group at some point in your career, running backs, receivers, line, obviously quarterbacks. How does that help you as a coordinator when you have that experience with all those different groups?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been really blessed. I don't know that was by design, in my career and how things worked out, but certainly it helps you see the whole field. And I think it helps you relate to every position room and what those challenges are that are presented and how each room needs to succeed for us to succeed on a game day. And so I think when you can put, especially the front end, and you can truly tie in the run game with the pass game and the protection schemes, I just think it makes it a lot cleaner in the development of the game plan. That's the part that I've probably benefit from the most, is it's easier to tie that game plan together when you truly understand what's going on up front and what the quarterback is facing.
Ryan, we haven't had a chance, I think, to talk with you since the Michigan game. How much does that kind of still stick with you and drive you a little bit today?
It hurts a lot. That was one of the toughest losses I've ever had to endure. So, and then, to walk away from a special season like that, nobody wants to lose the last game of the year no matter what, but to lose like that, it was tough, man. And I said it before, but those kids left everything out there, and it was a challenging loss.
And then guys like Austin Mack that are heading to Tuscaloosa, how difficult was it to kind of leave those guys behind, and what are those conversations like with them?
Yeah, Austin's unique in the sense that when I recruited Austin, it was under the premise, talking to Brad and Lisa, his parents, that he knew that this was a possibility, whether it was this year, next year. At some point, I told him that, there's a good chance that I wouldn't get to see the end of his career. And so I think honest conversations like that when you recruit kids help when transitions like this happen.
You said that you kind of talked to Mike over the last year or whatever, but you were obviously still at Alabama last Wednesday and all that. Did it still kind of at the end kind of come together real quickly at the end, or?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Things happen fast when you're in these hiring cycles, and I think that the investment part's on the front side way before job opportunities happen, so that some of those tougher conversations can happen, that when you get to the finish line on something, you can be clean on it.
I asked Jay Harbaugh the same thing, excuse me. How difficult is college coaching now, and what kind of challenge is that for you personally, and did that have any factor in you choosing to go to the NFL right now?
Yeah, good question, fair question. I think what I'd say to that is, it was a factor. I think the bigger factor was just being able to compete at the highest level. But when I look at it, when you think about if you're just talking about coaching and your profession and your craft, what I would say is that the more ability and time that you have to focus on task at hand, the better you're going to be at it. And I would say that the tough part for college football is when you think about just coaching your room and your team, and I was just talking to some guys about this yesterday, and the focus that you're able to give your squad right now, just your team, that's all you're worrying about, and you don't have all these things coming in from the outside that you have to deal with and address, just gives you more time and opportunity to be better at your craft and provide more resources to your team.
Do you feel it's sustainable for a coach in college football the way the system is right now?
I would say that's a longer conversation. I would say they got to get it fixed. It's got to be better. There's too many good people, and it's too good an organization, and it's such a special place for kids to work on what they love. And they got to get it right, and they got to keep working on it. And I know they will.
You mentioned the three guys you had at UW with Jalen and Rome and those guys. What do you see from DK and Tyler and Jackson Smith?
Oh, wow. Yeah, they're amazing. I'm excited. I'm really excited. I think those guys are focal points of the offense, and I think they're smart, tough, and dependable guys. And I think that, the sky's the limit when you got some guys like that, and you throw Bobo in there and the rest of the room. I think there's a lot of weapons that can be utilized there.
You mentioned Drew Lock as well. Do you know him at all much, or what are your kind of thoughts on
No,
him?
I mean, I didn't know Drew prior to this, but just had conversations. He's got a new young son, and he's down in Florida right now getting ready to do some training, and I was just counseling him through being a new dad and dealing with no sleep. So he's doing great.
Ryan, Ryan, going back to the interview process, knowing that Mike is a defensive-minded head coach, did you feel like you had to convince him that you could make that shift from a pass-heavy offense to one that runs the ball more?
No, I don't think you convince Mike of a lot of stuff. I think he's very pragmatic in how he approaches things, and he's going to ask questions that, you're not going to be able to fib on or try to adjust. You're going to have to answer the question directly and be able to have answers for him. And I think that's what I loved about it. It was just, how straightforward he was and, his vision for this whole thing.
You said you met him at the Combine. Is that common for college coaches? Is it like a networking thing just to go to the Combine?
No, there was some connection probably a little bit prior to that, but I think some guys go, some guys don't. Last year I really went more to watch the quarterbacks, and Michael was going to be down there going through an underclassmen process that I wanted to be there for him with, and really just took time to examine and watch quarterbacks, which was great.
Ryan, how exciting is the newness on staff? First time NFL head coach, your first offensive coordinating job in the NFL. Is that a challenge? Is it an opportunity? How do you look at it?
Both, and excited about that. I think it's absolutely a challenge, and one that I'm really looking forward to and looking at just like that it is an opportunity. And I feel like every time I've been given those opportunities and challenges, that brings out the best in me.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.